Computer Apps class. This is going to be our first session in Adobe InDesign, and I'm going to just kind of start you off by just working a little bit about what InDesign is for. And today's assignment is going to be very basic. It's just about the basic building blocks of InDesign, getting some text and some pictures into an InDesign document. That's really all you have to do today. InDesign is another one of the Adobe programs, and it can be used for page layout. You can create magazines, newsletters, newspapers. People create content for iPads and iPhones and Android phones and all kinds of things, websites. Now here's kind of a peek at what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to ask you to create a 5-page document in InDesign where all you do is put in some text and some pictures. And what I did in my example here is I used Star Wars as kind of a vehicle for what I'm doing here. But you would not have to. You could use other pictures and other text if you wish. So that's really kind of up to you. This is page 1. I just have some text and a picture of Luke Skywalker. Here we have page 2. It's just Princess Leia. Over here we have page 3. And you'll notice that when you're working in InDesign, the layout looks a little bit different. Page 2 is on the left-hand side, and page 3 is over here on the right-hand side. It's kind of like a book. It lays out like a book or a newspaper or a magazine. And you can change that, but that's the way we're going to work on it for right now. So I got Princess Leia, Han Solo, and then on my other pages here, I've just got Darth Vader and Yoda. All right, and really what we're going to be looking at today is how to start a new document, how to make new pages, how to put on text, how to put in pictures. That's really all there is to it. A couple of little extra things, a few little special effects, but nothing too big. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and I'm actually going to hop out of InDesign. I'm working on a Mac again today, so it's going to be a little bit different for you. What you'll do is go to your Start button in the bottom left-hand corner and go to All Programs and look inside your Adobe Web Design and Web Premium for CS6, and you'll find InDesign in there. Now, working on my Mac here, I've just got an InDesign icon down on the dock at the bottom. When you first start it up, it'll look something like this. It'll work on loading up all its fonts and things like that, and you'll have a dialog box in the middle. Now here is where we really get started today. You can start this off right here where it says Create New Document. That's a great way to start. Now you can also go to File, New Document if you want to. There's a keyboard shortcut there as well, Control-N. All right, but I'm just going to work with this dialog box right here in the middle, Create New Document, and I'll just click that. All right, everything here is pretty well set up. I don't think I'm going to change a thing. There is an orientation setting. I'm just going to leave it on portrait orientation. I'm going to leave it letter sized. Not really going to do anything with this. I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. All right, great. There we go. Now let me close a few panels here that you probably won't really need. Okay, now the first thing that we'll tackle is pages. You're going to need, I'm going to ask you to have 5 pages on this, a total of 5 pages. So here's how you can take care of that. Over on the top right hand side, there's a panel over here that has some basic little links here for different panels that will pop out. And I'm going to go to the Pages panel. All right, now once I'm on the Pages panel, you can see page 1 right here. There's a little thumbnail for page 1, and that's what I'm looking at right now. At the bottom of this Pages panel, and you kind of get used to this after a while with Adobe applications. There's a little button that looks like a page, a sheet with a corner flipped up, and it says Create New Page. All right, and I'm just going to click that. And I'm going to keep doing that now because I want 5. I'll just make another new page. And if you're watching these little thumbnails here, you see how what it did was it put page 2 and page 3 as what's called facing pages. They're right next to each other like they would be in a book. If you opened a book up, you know, the pages are right next to each other. All right, I'll hit it again and I have page 4. I'll hit it one more time and I have page 5. I can scroll this little panel up and down, and I can see the thumbnails of the pages there. Now one way to navigate here is just to double click on those thumbnails. If I double click on this thumbnail for page 1, it shows me page 1. If I double click on the thumbnail for page 2, and actually it's showing me page 2 and 3, but page 2 is on the left and 3 is on the right. Or I can just scroll this and click, and now I'm looking at page 4 and page 5. All right, you can also use your page up and page down key on your keyboard if you like doing it that way. So you can navigate around these pages a lot of ways. All right, now like I said today, nothing all that fancy. I want to put some text on here and I want to put some pictures on here. Let's look at text first of all. Over on the left hand side there's a toolbar. We'll start off with the type tool. All right, type tool looks like a capital letter T, and what I'm going to do is click it once. I'm just going to drag a text box. I click and drag, and I drag out a text box. I can type in there. I'm going to put Luke Skywalker on this page. Now remember, you can use you don't have to use the Star Wars pictures if you don't want to. If you want to have the 5 guys are in New Direction, or the starting 5 for the Indiana University basketball team, or it could be 5 random pictures, but what you got to have on each page is some text and a picture on every page. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and highlight that Luke Skywalker, and across the top there's tons of controls here about about working with this text and all that kind of thing. So I'm going to center it. Here's a centering button right there. I'm going to change the font. All right, I'm going to use Impact on mine. You can use whatever fonts you have available, and you'll see some fonts on my list here that probably won't be on your machine because I'm working on a Mac. I'm going to make it Impact, and I'm going to change the size of it. I'm going to bump it up to like 72 points. And then right here, if you look carefully, you see this capital letter T that looks black. If I click there, right now, we'll get into colors more later, but there's kind of a limited set of colors here that I can use. And like I said, I wouldn't worry a whole lot yet about trying to come up with different colors. We'll get into that later, but I'm just going to pick a color. All right, I'll make Luke Skywalker this blue color, and then when I click, if I use my black arrow tool, all right, there, I've got text. Lovely, great, wonderful. Now on this page I need a picture of Luke Skywalker, so let's see how to do that. To put a picture on a page, you go up to the File menu and you go to Place, File and Place. You don't go to File and Open. Be careful about that. It's File and Place. Then you have to browse around and find the picture that you want. Now, I have this collection of Star Wars pictures here, and if everything goes right, these should be sitting on Drive L on the courses drive. And they're available for you to use as well if you want to. You don't have to use them, but you can use them if you want. I want the picture of Luke Skywalker, so it's right there, and I'm going to open that. Now here's something. Oh, and this might happen to you too. Look what happened. The Luke Skywalker picture filled up my text box. I'm going to Control Z and undo that. And here's why I did that. I had the text box selected when I did File and Place, and so it placed it right in that text box. I don't want that. So what I want to do is make sure that I deselect that text box before I do File and Place. All right, now I'm going to go File and Place and get that Luke Skywalker picture and open it. And look what happens to the cursor. The cursor shows a little thumbnail of the Luke Skywalker picture. Now, you can do a couple of things. If you just click, it'll just drop that picture on there. I'm going to undo that. You can drag and kind of drag it out to whatever size you want. I'll undo that. So here it is again. You can just make one single click when the cursor looks like that, one single click, and it puts the picture on there. Or you can click and drag to kind of size it the way you want. You can resize it later too. All right, so I've got it on there. The next thing I'm going to do, and this is something that's a little funky about InDesign, I'm going to come up here to the bar across the top, and I'm going to look for this little checkbox that says Auto Fit. It just makes sure that anytime I resize that picture, that the frame that picture's in, that the picture will resize with it. So I'm going to do an auto fit right there. I'm just going to turn that on. Now I can position that picture wherever I want, and I can make it a little bit bigger or smaller if I want to, and that's all good. Now you kind of want to avoid here, if you grab this circle in the middle and you move it, look what happens. See, there's the frame of the picture, and I kind of moved the picture to the side inside that frame. It's kind of like cropping, sort of. And I don't really want to do that. All right, so this looks okay to me. All right, so now let's get on, let's move ahead. And I don't know if you need to watch me do all 5 of these, but I'll do a couple more and you'll get the idea. Over here on the right hand side on my Pages panel, I'm going to double click Page 2, and that brings up this, what it's called a spread, and this has the spread for 2 and 3. All right, well, same kind of thing here. I want to drag out a text box, and I got to put some text in here. All right, we're going to do Princess, or I'm going to do Princess. It's L-I-E-A. No, L-E-I-A. Princess Leia. All right, and I will drag over that to highlight it. I'm going to center it. I'm just going to keep using that impact font right here, and I'm going to make it size 72. All the controls for the fonts and everything are up at across the top here. And the color, if you'll look right here where this capital T here is, I'm going to just pick a color for that. All right, I'll use my black arrow. Now, when you drag your text box out, if you made it a little big, you can use your black arrow and kind of tighten that up a little bit, and so it doesn't take up as much space. All right, good. Princess Leia. Now, I want to deselect that, remember, because if I do File and Place with that selected, it's going to place the picture right inside there, and I don't want that. All right, File, Place, and this is Princess Leia. And again, I have that icon. I can click once, it'll pop the picture on there, or I can drag it and do it like that. And I'm going to turn on that auto fit feature, and I can kind of move that around. And got it. Now I will show you this real quickly here. Really on any of these things, on text or whatever, if you do a right click and go to effects, you have a kind of a limited little number of effects here. For example, if I want a drop shadow here, I could do a drop shadow. You'll want to turn on, there's a preview button there, you'll want to turn that on, and you can play around with the distance and the offset, and you can play around with any of these options, the blend mode, the opacity, the color. You can tweak any of those that you want to. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and click OK there, and it puts a little drop shadow underneath the picture. Kind of a nice effect there, I think. Okay, right next door here is page 3. So again, same process. I'll go get the type tool, and I think I'll put Han Solo on here. All right, so I've got my text. I can drag over that. I'm going to center it. I'm going to use the impact font, but again, use whatever font you want. I'm going to make it size 72. I'm going to come here and I'll use some color for the impact, or for Han Solo. I'll give him kind of like a blue color here, and I'll get my black arrow tool. And all right, so I've got some text on there, and again, I can kind of tweak the size of this text box and move it around. Just grab the letters and move them if you want to. And you'll notice some guides kind of pop up to show you when you're lined up with other objects, and that's kind of a nice help. We'll get into that more later. I need a picture of Han Solo here, so I want to deselect the text box, go to File, go to Place, and find my Han Solo picture. Open that up. Again, the cursor looks like looks like the picture, so I could do a single click and it would pop it on there, or I can drag it out to whatever size I want. I'm going to turn on that auto fit option, and again, if you wish, I could right click on that and go to effects, and maybe what I'll do is a basic feather on this one. I'll show you what that looks like. Again, most of these effects have a preview setting, and if I bump up the feather width a little bit, you'll see it a little bit better. It just gives it a soft edge around there. Okay, there we go, and you can tweak any of those options that you want, and I'll click OK there. All right, now you'll notice that all of these objects have these blue frames around them, and you can if you it's not showing up on there, if you go to this little button that's at the very bottom of the toolbar, I'm in what's called the normal view, and it shows you all of those frames, the text frames, the picture frames. It shows all of them on there. If you go to the preview right here, it will take all of those frames off and gives you a little bit more of a peek of what it kind of looks like without all the frames around everything. And then you can always click and hold, just click and hold on that bottom button and go to normal or preview or whatever you want. I'll go back to normal. All right, now when this is all done, you can just click File, click Save As, and make sure you get to your network drive, and you could just call this InDesign 1. All right, InDesign 1. And it's just pictures and text. And I know I only did 3 in my demo. I want you to do 5, but I think you get the idea. All right, so you save this on your network drive, InDesign 1, and then you have to drag it and drop it into your turn-in folder on Drive L. Folks, that's another one in the books. Let's have at it. Try out a little InDesign. Off you go.